Hello and welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of The Racer's Mind. Here, I'm Brandon Kreutz. We got Corey Silva and Michael DeGroat with us here tonight. So, guys, episode 2, we missed last week, but we're back this week.
Yeah, last week got a little thrown off by some real-world events. We got, well, not real-world, but we got called into the booth for LSR TV, kind of an affiliate channel. We work with them, so had to postpone it, but here we are. We got a lot of people asking for us to do it again, so did it again for you guys. Here we are, episode 2.
Yeah, those guys are in the virtual Martinsville, Virginia. I don't know where I am, but
Great value linens aisle, perhaps.
Yeah, obviously.
we got to introduce our social media partner we brought to the channel, Michael DeGroat. I think he's on that side. There you go. Hi, Michael.
I'm over here. Yes, sir. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Doing great. Yeah, good to actually... I think this is going to be better having 3 people on the show tonight. A little bit more entertaining for you guys. A little bit more, one more opinion here with us. And don't be afraid to get the YouTube chat going there. And, throw some opinions in there once we get talking about some stuff.
I'll be eyeballing the chat down here as we talk. And I know in episode 1 I got to hang out in the chat, and there was a lot that I wanted to say down there in the chat. So if someone has something to say, we'd be happy to include it and help that carry on the conversation too.
Yeah, so I think the first thing that we wanted to talk about, I know, Michael, this is your topic that you've been bringing up whenever we brought up a list for tonight. Sim racing hardware. And there's a new thing on the line right now. It's in Kickstarter. Actually, it's in pre-Kickstarter. It's been talked about for months. FeelVR. And it's something that I am personally very interested in. It's been on the market by Sim Racing Paddock. There was just a video by Sean Cole on the Sim Pit. I haven't got to watch that yet, but for those who don't know, it's a budget direct drive wheel. It's supposed to be pedals included too. It's supposed to be direct drive wheel, but about half of the price. And for those who did watch the Sim Racing Paddock video on it, it didn't really have the best of starts, but for what it is, guys, what do we take about that as a viable option for hardcore premium sim racing equipment, but at a price of maybe a Thrustmaster or Fanatic wheel?
This is something that really interested me. I am wanting to upgrade my wheel personally. I have an old Thrustmaster T150. It works, but I certainly want something better. FeelVR, they talked about a price point that seemed almost too good to be true initially, with coming out at an early bird price point of $388 for an entry-level direct drive wheel and set of pedals. Now it turns out that as they got further into development, it was too good to be true. Some initial reports said that they were going to raise the price up to $449. Right now, they're saying $549 for Kickstarter pricing once they do finally go live, which I think they said they were going to do in March. Unfortunately, they didn't get around to it. $160 price jump from what they initially talked about, and there's been a little bit of pessimism too from some of the initial reviews. So I don't know. I still have hope for what this can be. And I look forward to maybe it moving out of prototype stage, getting into some more, what am I trying to look for? Like consumer grade quality equipment that people can actually test out, see if it's, something worth jumping to.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm still sitting here on a Logitech G27 wheel, and for a jump up for that price range, obviously said $388 seemed very unrealistic, and it was. They had to bump up their price by almost $200, and which makes sense for the type of wheel it is. But a couple people have done some reviews on it. Seems really good. Seems like something that once it does get released to the public can purchase, might be a good solution.
But, and something that we need to remember is we need to realize what we're comparing it to. If you're going to compare a wheel that is maybe priced a little bit higher than a Thrustmaster or TCP Racer, whatever they're called, Fanatic, their Highline. Are we referring to that wheel to that level, which is what it's priced at, or are we referring it to and comparing it to your AccuForce, your I don't know, all the other $1,000 plus wheels? What are we referencing it to so that we know what we should accurately review it against?
Personally, I wouldn't put it up against those $1,000 wheels, just because of the price point. It's built to be a starter direct drive wheel, something that can maybe compete with the Thrustmaster and Fanatic wheels.
Something that you have to think about too is after this is on the market, once their Kickstarter is over with, the market retail price point of this wheel is going to be $899. So when you look at this wheel, yes, it's still barely better than proof of concept. It's still a prototype, but is it going to be something that anyone will pay $900 for? Regardless, that's a very steep price point.
And I'm not positive, I don't have it in front of me right now, but I'm pretty sure there is a Thrustmaster wheel, their newest of the newest one, is very up there. I want to say it's their GT Sport wheel. I think it is up on those lines, which I know for me, I have a T300, but I like a little bit more. Of course, I went from what Brandon had. I actually had a G25. Lasted me 7 years. I had a Fanatic. The Fanatic died, so now I have this, and it's doing me really well. I absolutely love it, and I would like more. Obviously, you sim race, you get the itch, you want a little bit more. I know for a fact I'm never going to be spending that kind of money. So, but we've also forgot the pedals too. There are a set of pedals with it, and those actually did get some pretty good feedback.
From YouTube videos that we saw with some of the initial reviews, they did get pretty good feedback. There were a couple of little quirks that they talked about. FeelVR recently held an event near Los Angeles, and I think 10 or 15 people showed up just to test out the wheel on their laptop with the VR headset. And reading a couple of reviews on the internet from people who went into that event, there are even mixed reviews about the quality of the pedals. So, again, I understand that it's in prototype phase right now, but looking at it as a whole, there's a lot of pessimism, with the bundle, and there are multiple reports of even their People's Day ending, going to test it out, ending short in literal smoke.
But guys, I do want to go in chat really quick. We have someone, ORN Sim Racing, asking, do we think we'll see any MPass drivers, the elite of the elite iRacing drivers? Do you think they would move up to this for someone who may be racing on a stock Logitech? Because it's not unheard of. I know that there are high-tier drivers out there, pro and peak drivers, that are running on stock pedals, stock Logitech pedals, stock Logitech wheel. You can win on the stuff that you'll go to Best Buy and buy right now. You can win on that. So
I think it was I want to say Michael Conti that won the championship with the G27 wheel, and I think it could be a good solution, at least at because we have to keep in mind that again, it's the wheel and the pedals both very. The pedals, at least, were reviewed at a very, very high quality, and those alone can be very way up there in price. So I think it could be something that some of these pros will maybe go to.
I think it's hard, to know for sure what someone at the top tier would do. I think my mindset in that situation, I would be, well, this got me here. If it works so well and I do so well with this, I'll stick with what works. It's hard to know for sure what they would do, but, there's no doubt that the wheel doesn't necessarily make you a better driver. You might have greater immersion. You could pick up more detail with force feedback and make yourself better and so on. But, bottom line is it's the individual, not really the equipment.
That is actually a really good point, Michael, and I think we could actually jump off of that towards something else. What does make a driver? Does what you have, and we have people who are clamped to an office desk they've had for 15 years with their Logitech, and it's wobbling on all sorts when they're trying to race with it, about to fall apart, but they can still race. And then we have the person who has a $7,000 motion rig and finishes 35th in every race. So does what you have for equipment mean anything towards what your end result is going to be on the track?
I think a little bit. It depends how reliable your equipment is. I know my stuff, it's older, it's been through a lot of abuse. It does malfunction on me every once in a while.
And you handle it with such
Michael
grace,
knows what I'm talking about.
You handle it with such grace every time.
Yeah.
It malfunctions right into the back.
That's what I'm talking about. By abuse. I can see him start to smile over there. So it does malfunction on me sometimes. Sometimes maybe having a little bit more durable equipment, something that's a little bit more smooth, would come into effect.
I need to start blaming all of my mess ups on my equipment and just saying, hey, I had a malfunction. But, and I agree with what you said initially, in that to an extent, the equipment may matter. I think what makes, as someone who's not necessarily great, I'm okay usually. The time that you put into practicing, or the knowledge you have generally about a car or a track. And then, there's a little bit of natural, I guess you could call it instinct, to know what to do in different situations.
Why are you still laughing?
No. It's just, he's got a very, very valid point, but I'm thinking of all of everything that people do wrong when it comes to having good equipment. Is exactly what I do with my equipment.
Is this a realization right now?
Yeah.
This is Brandon Cruz opening up towards his skill / lack thereof.
Only on asphalt. But I mean, yeah, you can have really good equipment and still finish dead last in your races. It all comes down to, number one, how you treat your equipment. I've had my stuff for 4 years, almost 5 years now. It's lasted me quite a while. We've had some malfunctions, had to replace a couple parts. That's about it. And even some of these higher end wheels will break. I think it comes down to how you treat your equipment. And obviously, if it starts to malfunction, you're not going to finish well. If it functions well, if it's smooth, it could definitely help your driving.
But then there's something else in terms of equipment that I know a lot of drivers use, a lot of drivers don't use. I know, what about a H-pattern shifter? I know many a time, if you have a paddle shifter and you have auto clutch on, auto blip on, and you just 1, 2, 3, 4 through the paddles, you could be a lot faster than actually getting off the getting and changing the gears, getting off the clutch, blipping it, XYZ. So
yeah, that's cheating.
Where do you go from in terms of, do you want to have the most realistic position possible with everything that you can have, or do you want to be fast and maybe take those sim racing shortcuts, have those apps that may give you all the telemetry, having the macros that can do XYZ? So where do you draw the line between, I want to have the best and most realistic experience possible, or do I want to actually perform the best and maybe take some cuts and take some shortcuts?
I mean, to me, the shortcuts, the auto clutch, the auto blip, the paddle shifting, it doesn't really do much, at least in my opinion. Yeah, maybe they'll beat you off of a restart, but to be truly fast, the road cars, it's they all drive, I wouldn't say similar, but the way that the shifting goes, they're all pretty similar. I wouldn't really say that it's an issue for the road racing side of things, except in the stock car vehicles, the NASCAR vehicles. But take oval racing, for example. If you're going up through the gears, someone that's kind of taking the shortcut, maybe they'll get you a little bit. It won't be much, and if they're going to be fast, they really have to be fast all around fourth gear.
I think, overall, I can say with confidence that paddle shifting primarily doesn't really give you an edge. as someone who for a long time has used that primarily, it certainly doesn't really make me better. And what I do with oval racing, I don't shift a whole lot. So that initial start or restart really is one that may take effect. With other little tidbits, you talk about telemetry, and there are third-party applications that you can use. For example, you can use third-party force feedback software, which can take your low and wheel and help make it feel a little better too. There are ways to kind of help you out, and using a telemetry program to see where maybe you can gain a tenth or whatnot. I think that would fall into, though, time and effort into getting better as a driver. Those apps don't really do much without you doing your part.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. I know for the road racing side, that's where I know the paddles definitely, at least on my end, help. Because if I have a car, let's say I'm driving even on the rookie side of it, if I'm racing like an MX-5 or something like that, all that time that I'm spent one hand on the wheel, one hand on the shifter, if I could have those two hands on the wheel, I personally know that I could be faster. But again, I know I'm not going for pro. I know I'm not going for anything like that. So if I'm going to lose half a second on an upshift and then maybe lose that little bit of time on the straightaway, that doesn't bother me as much. I mean, I'm immersed. I have my Rift on, which is another topic of conversation, Rift versus triples, or we can get into that. But I'd still rather know that I'm getting the most I'm getting. I wouldn't spend all of this money just to be able to say that I'm going to cheat my way and snooker my way through. No, I want to drive a race car, so that's what I'm going to do. That's why I spend all this money and I race with a big black thing on my face.
I think most people are looking for that sense of immersion primarily. And that's what's great about iRacing in particular, and that it's a very realistic platform. And there's an opportunity for, real immersion. And yes, something like a Rift, can help that out as well. The desire to win, I think, is different from person to person. I'm sure with some people that may be the top priority, but ultimately I think everyone is wanting the immersion. And, for me personally, I'm not going to win a lot. I'm happy with a decent finish if I had fun. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day is if you're having fun. I mean, if you're doing iRacing, which is obviously probably the most serious of the simulators out there, or if you're on Project Cars, you're on R-Factor, you're even doing Forza. I mean, ultimately, you can have all the rig you can have, but it's all about having fun in the end. If you're not having fun, then maybe trade it all in and try Flight Simulator, go play Call of Duty. I mean, do something else. I mean, ultimately, you got to have fun in the end. Whatever that is for you particularly.
Yeah, definitely. So something else I wanted to get into tonight is our past league racing from the past week here on PTR
Are your eyes okay, Brandon?
Yeah, definitely. No.
Say, is that like a nervous tendency or something? You just blink like that?
I have really... No, okay. Things are going to get real here for a second. I do have really bad anxiety, and the camera doesn't help. So, side note. But, yeah, I think the league racing topic, start off with Tuesday nights with the ASRS, what was it, the Truck Series or the Cup Series?
It was the Truck Series.
I was not there for that
Truck
one.
Series, it was the hashtag CancerSucks125,
yeah, that's
which
right.
originally was the highest viewed race we've had all year on the channel, but YouTube had other thoughts about that.
Did it drop views?
Yeah, I lost about half of it. I think someone in perhaps trying to make it stand out maybe hit the refresh button way too many times, and YouTube's algorithm of authenticity kind of caught that. But it was a very good race, so if anybody missed that, it's actually is a really good one to go back and rewatch. It was Auto Club at night, and there was 3-4 wide racing, tons of passing, a lot of different dynamics, so that was a really good race, and it was for a good cause. It was supporting, I mean, we're a sim racing family, we're a broadcasting family, we're not just a company. We take personally with every league that we do business with, and it was for a good cause, for a driver the admin who lost someone in his family. So everyone, we ourselves with the ticker and stuff, and all the drivers really made it special with the purple trucks, and it was a really good night. We was really proud to bring it to everybody.
It was a lot of fun to watch, and my heart and my thoughts go out to Jim Foose and his family, and to anyone who's affected by cancer. But to have everyone in the league come together to put purple on the trucks, for you guys to get together and decide to turn the ticker purple, to have your moment of silence as well midway through the race. It was a really good show, and ultimately it was a really good race too. So it was pretty fitting.
I think Brandon has some real life stuff going on. Ouch. Brandon has some real life going on.
Hate it when that happens.
I do have him and Michael temporarily muted until Brandon gets his headset back on, because I don't want to kill our viewers. Are you back, Brandon?
Yeah.
You just killed all of us temporarily, but we tried to work through it.
We missed you.
Sorry, there was some background noise that I didn't take care of.
But so ASRS, and then we had Rivalry Racing, which is our college football league, on Thursday, and we had the most drastic and most dominating performance I have seen on an oval in a long time.
Yeah, that was very impressive. I think it was probably a three-quarter of a lap lead over the rest of the field, or 3/4 of the lap lead over the rest of the fields from Travis McDaniel. Dominating performance by him on Thursday. It was probably one of the most impressive things I've seen in quite a while, if ever, on iRacing.
I was only able to catch, really the last third of that race due to work, and coming into that, I certainly would agree that it was quite the finish on his part. And of course, he's a good driver, and they put on a great show every week. And so to do that with his league is certainly impressive.
And also for our country, for those that don't know, Travis McDaniel actually does serve our country. There was a race last year that he dropped out of because he was actually racing from overseas, which, again, amen to him, and bless him for all that he does for the country. And to see him with that league, I know it's a startup league, it just started last year, but he puts a lot of time, a lot of effort. He makes videos for every race, multiple videos a race. He updates graphics every week. He really does a good job. So anybody who likes college football, if your team doesn't already have a truck, well, find a paint scheme, join Thursday nights, because NIS is always a crap race. They're a good group of drivers, so head on their way, and you'll have a really good race. But we also have Hardline, which is the league that kind of got our channel off its come on, fill in a word, off of the floor.
Feet?
I mean, yes,
yeah,
off of its feet.
It did. That is the league that picked us up, and they had their duel at Daytona on Friday night, and that was a pretty good show. Shane Tarrant taking home the win on Friday night.
That was a fun race too, and I was able to run it myself, get all the way up to, I believe, 4th place, and unfortunately get caught up in the one wreck that we had at the end and finished towards the back. Hardline, the Cup Series there, again, a great group of guys, great group of racers. Put on a really good show. I'm excited to have the season start up. We'll see this Friday. They had their duel. We've got the starting lineup for this week. We'll see 80 more laps this Friday at Daytona.
Yeah, it was surprisingly, because looking into it, we're broadcasters. We know what race we're going to be watching, and sometimes we kind of have our predetermined thoughts of, oh God, we're going to have to sit through this for so long. We do it. So. But we thought going into it, it's the Cup car at Daytona at night. We thought it was going to be a snooze fest. And, it wasn't. It had its moments, but those guys really could put a race together in the end. And the racing was a lot better than I thought, given what they had to work with the Cup car. Yeah,
unfortunately, I wasn't able to make that one. I would have loved to to commentate that one as well. But unfortunately, I was at work trying to make money to buy myself a real green screen. So,
how's that going for you?
I'm still broke. So,
but yeah, we did have. So those were the 3 races last week. We're talking to a new Monday league, so we may be doing double duty on Mondays. As soon as we finish this, we may be picking a league up. As I check my email right now. But yeah, we've had a lot of people talk to us about, how do you guys only have 400 subscribers? How do you guys only have so many views for what you guys do? And do we want to toot our own horn? Yeah, do we want to toot our own horn and be like, well, yeah, we deserve X amount of... Hey, Brandon, I'm talking. One person talks at a time. Okay. But, yeah. So we don't want to toot our own horn and say we're the best. I mean, we're not the best. We have a lot of work to do. This stuff that I don't know how to do as a producer, that I need to learn. As multitasking I don't have, but that is definitely something that we have ideas, we have affiliations with a larger channel, and there is a deal that is in progress, which hopefully will help everybody out. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have anywhere else where I was going with that, but Brandon, continue what I was cutting you off on.
No, I mean, sorry, by the way.
Respect the boss.
Respect the former boss. Just kidding. Yeah, you know, we're still technically a startup channel as well. So what's our subscriber count? We're up to 415 at the moment, give or take, depending on how the night goes. But so yeah, we're still technically a startup channel. We've kind of stopped around 400. It seems every time we get up another 100 subscribers, it just kind of stalls out for a couple months, and then we start picking up again where we left off. And normally it's because we pick up a new league. That's kind of how channels start to grow. You know, trying to get our name out there as well is a difficult thing. Trying to pick up partners that'll help us out and get us, you know, some more viewers and some more subscribers. That's another thing. Us doing a show like this could help. You never know.
And someone in chat saying, where's my PTR TV shirt? We do have PTR TV shirts. They're still in beta. Brandon has to finalize the design, but they will be on primetimерacing.tv. But to piggyback off of that, yeah, I mean, do I feel like we could compete with a RaceBot? No. Are we far off of it? I mean, if RaceBot is a 10... I'd like to say we sit at a solid 7.5, but I also see channels that have far less production quality and quality control and features and don't go as far as and above and beyond that have triple the subscribers, quadruple the subscribers. I mean,
I have a theory with some of that, and I guess I'll tread lightly, but you know, you got to look at who may be in the league as well. When you have maybe a popular YouTuber or someone along those lines running in a league, and maybe they're on a channel of lower quality, you know, that definitely could contribute to success as well. I know right now where PTR TV is, with the lineup that you guys have and the quality that you bring to the table, it's certainly, you know, an A-level channel. And you're right, someone like RaceBot certainly has an edge, and they do things better than anyone else, but you're not far off. And 415, I look at that number and I think, you know, that probably is, for the most part, drivers and leagues that you've covered. People like myself, you know, I wasn't really into watching streams of racing, you know, iRacing. I could go and race myself, and I think a lot of people have that mentality. And when you throw in interesting commentary and genuine entertainment, and obviously quality that you can tolerate, that's how you gain the few extra that you can. And you guys are certainly on the right track with that.
Yeah, you think about it in the sense of, as you said, it works both ways. We've seen these days with leagues, I mean, we cover a lot of leagues, we race in leagues. What is a thing as a driver in a league that you look for? And we'll be bluntly honest. You go through the forums, oh, hey, there's a league on Thursday nights. Hey, I'm free on Thursday nights. What is it? Okay, I like that car. Is it broadcasted? And do I get paid? And
yeah,
if
it's mostly it being broadcasted as well.
Because I'll just get this quick point in. We ran, and Brandon, I mean, that's how I met you. On Thursdays, well, / Fridays, a couple years ago, there was a league called Friday Oval Series that morphed into Thursday Xfinity Series. We had a couple races on RaceSpot, and the winner got, I think, $60 a race. Oh, no, $60 a race. We'd have a lot more members if that was the case. $60 a season, and it paid out, and then we had some subsidiary prizes during the season. And then there was one season we were broadcasted entirely on a small channel that had, I think, 100 subscribers. Views were appropriate for that. And then for the last couple races, we said, hey, let's be on RaceSpot. So our channel sponsor, Air Movement Fabrications, who is in chat, ponied up the money to go on 3 races on RaceSpot, and we had crazy views. But you know the funny thing behind that? We really didn't have participation for those races either, so it's kind of a double-edged sword.
And I actually had found that league through, at the time, it was called Friday Oval Series. Through another, I wouldn't say small channel, but I think Corey knows what I'm talking about. And I joined because of that and made a bunch of great friends because of it. And, it's all about the group of guys, the mentality of the drivers that, really brings good racing, but not a lot of people really look for that anymore. Most of the time it's, hey, is this league broadcast?
There is a benefit to the leagues, at this point with them broadcasting, and it is going to be a larger participation. And obviously it comes at a premium, for them if they're going to pay for a quality broadcast. Maybe they have an entry fee or they have sponsors, that sort of thing. It's something that most people look at, and myself, I think when I started racing, I didn't care. I didn't know about it at first, of course, but now there is that you look at, is it broadcasted? It's fun to go back and watch and see, to prove your point that that guy did get into my left quarter panel, and I was right when I said I did, that sort of thing.
I mean,
it's fun.
I'll tell you guys, and I mean, Brandon, you guys know, those who know me in chat, you'll know there's a race, and you can go back and watch it on YouTube. It's titled Thursday Xfinity Series at Indianapolis, and I'm going to take a deep breath, go into my Zen moment over this race. I led that race in its entirety until 5 laps to go, where I lost the lead on a restart. And then,
to say it bluntly, Corey choked.
I got the lead back with 5 laps to go, and then I lost it on the white flag I lost it with 1.5 laps to go, and then we sat there on turn 4, and I asked myself every day, why did I not move him out of the way? And I could have.
At the time, your excuse was, I didn't want to come across as that driver.
No, and to this day, that really is it, though, is when you're in a broadcast, you set kind of a tone for what your league is. If we, as a broadcaster, we know this because we did it before, and I'm not really afraid to bring it up. We broadcasted a league that raced on Sunday nights, and they had many a wreck, and then they had many a wreck, and then what happened? They had many more wrecks, and that kind of sets the tone for your league. If someone watches, well, hey, this league's a pile of shit. I don't care, I'll swear. This league's a pile of shit. So do you want that to be the tone for your league? So yes, I entered turn 4, and I thought to myself, in the 5 seconds between the shoot and turn 1, or the shoot and turn 3 and the shoot and turn 4, I asked myself, do I want to be that guy and take him out right now? And people are going to watch this RaceSpot audience. We had like 80 people watching live. Do I want to be like, okay, this is what this league's about, is putting people into the wall for a win? And I bitched out.
With
Your
the league,
discretion is advised.
Yes.
May not be suitable for young children.
TVMA. With the league that you're talking about, I think there were a few things that maybe were a cause of issue. No penalty for guys in a higher level series coming in and wrecking the field to win. I think PTR TV at the time reap benefits from what I mentioned earlier, from having individuals in that league who were very popular, and as a result would come over and check out the broadcast, and that was very nice. In the end, you have to ask yourself, as broadcasters, are you having fun watching races where the drivers are pacing against the clock? The race is going to end because of the server time limit. Do you want to constantly be trying to fill yellow flag time with meaningless nonsense because we can't watch a race? So that. I don't even know where I was going with everything.
But, I mean, I do know I had the first ever Corey. I had Corey rage. I mean, I've had my rage, but
it's a fantastic thing to watch back, too.
I remember it was the end of the race. There was a wreck on what was going to be like a green-white checker or even a one-lap shootout, and they wrecked on the back straightaway. And I said with no hesitation, right as the wreck happened, we're going to commercial. Bye. Just literally did not even fade into a replay or anything. Just I'm done. I
think I remember that.
Yeah. It was, and that's the race. Boom, commercial. So there was no doubt that Corey was a little frustrated.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of frustration, I mean, we are. I don't know if I say speaking of frustration, but we are hitting the approximate half-hour point on this now. I know we usually like to keep these to about 45 minutes, so. Do we dare, we talked about it on Thursday, Brandon, you remember, do we dare talk about the whole millennial Corey rant debate? Sometimes we like to take these a little off the racing world.
Well,
do we even bother? Do we get me ramped up for what is wrong with the world?
I'm part of that generation, so I don't know.
So fill me in. What's your take, Corey? Where you stand?
This is what started. We were in the. I mean, okay, mind you, the rivalry race. It was a good race, but it had this lull when you have a leader has a 22-second lead with 110 green flag lap run. Yeah. So I can't.
We get a little off topic.
Yeah. So I think it was. We were talking. Something had to do with math, and you guys couldn't do it. And I said, well, back in my day. My generation actually had to remember their multiplication tables and basic distribution properties and stuff to remember math in your head. But I guess you guys don't have to think these days.
No, we've got this now.
You certainly you won't have a calculator in your pocket.
Yep. You got
everywhere that you go.
I think that
was what we were told.
Brandon, Brandon, 18 times 5 right now.
I'll just pull out my little handy-dandy calculator here.
You can't do 18 times 5 in your head.
Is it 90?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Man, point out that in high school, math was never my strong point, okay?
20 times... oh my
math.
God. Distribution property. Math. Come on. 20 times 5, and then you minus 10 because 10 is... Oh my God. Distribution. God.
I didn't do it that way in my mind, but...
That's how I was taught to do it. You round up and figure out what part is missing, and then you subtract that from the whole. So yes, maybe it's overly complex, but you still got it, sir.
I see what you did, but I guess my brain doesn't work that way. Either way, your time and my time weren't too far off, so I think I share a mentality with you.
Like I said, grabbing the Motorola Razr while I'm playing my Sega Dreamcast.
Am I the only millennial in this group right now?
I think we're all technically millennials if you want to look at the Wikipedia page and define it. But
Brandon, what was your first game console? Let's age ourselves that way.
Mine was a Super Nintendo.
Your name is Brandon, so yes, yours.
I mean,
a Super Nintendo, but you were born in what?
Well, that was what I used to play on, and the Nintendo 64.
I
didn't grow up a normal kid.
Well,
these were original.
By the time you had any kind of actual existence in the world, it was 2001, 2002, wasn't it?
99.
That's when you were born, right?
Yeah.
So when you actually had actual existence in the world.
Like memories? Yeah.
No, when you were actually a functioning member of society that could actually play a game. I mean,
that's what defines functioning.
Yes. What age you can play video games?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess around then. 2002.
So your
somewhere.
first system was Nintendo in 2002, 2003?
Yeah.
It wasn't new.
No. I know it wasn't new.
Because I was
I think Corey's just beyond belief right now that was my first gaming console.
Really? Because I would have at least thought of a Nintendo 64.
I didn't have PlayStation. I didn't have those things. I played on a Super Nintendo, and I had Zelda, Donkey Kong.
So you knew how to blow, you know.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. The cartridges.
All right.
No comment.
I blew Corey's mind right there. Like that's not the answer he was expecting.
No. But you.
Now that we got so far off the racing topic.
Well, that's the point. A little bit of diversion. So racing. What else do we have to say? We're wrapping up. Anybody in chat have anything that you want our whether intelligent or non-intelligent opinions on? Unintelligent, non-intelligent.
I think something that we do have to go into before we end this is last week at Martinsville with the NASCAR, the Truck Series and the Monster Energy Cup
Buy snow tires. Fortunately, due to real life and a 1-year-old who requires me watching Elmo, didn't get to watch too much of the race, but I can say, at least from the end of it, it was really good to see Boyer. I mean, I hate Ford drivers with a passion, just because I hate Ford. Nothing wrong with that.
That's just a Corey issue.
But like to see a driver, like a real driver, who's worked his way up, is kind of getting a second life with a better team, and to see him and the reaction and in victory lane, it reminds me of
a lot of emotion in that.
It reminds me of like when Terry Labonte had his final win. Mark Martin was winning in the end. Like, just a feel good. Like, you can't be mad about that kind of result.
And let's face it, the teams that he was with before were not top tier teams. Obviously, Tommy Baldwin Racing was not. I believe that's who he was with after he left NWR. They were definitely not top tier. Michael Waltrip Racing, they definitely were not top tier. They fell apart, well into their later stages of that team with between 2012 2013. They were not able to compete with the top teams anymore. And now he comes into Stewart-Haas Racing. They use his first year as kind of a development team after Tony Stewart left that number 14, and this year they've really been making some good strides. Obviously, coming home with that win at Martinsville was huge. It's a big confidence booster. I think that team will be able to go places within, if not be able to get another win this season, definitely make some really, really good progress next season and contend for a championship.
Clint Boyer isn't, he's never been someone I've paid a lot of attention to in terms of, favorite driver or someone you like or dislike. But, it's one of those stories where, it's kind of a feel good, maybe that's not my driver, but it's pretty cool to see him win. And the way in which he celebrated after the win was pretty sweet too. So
yeah,
he started burnouts, immediately after crossing the line.
Yeah, turn 3.
It was great.
So I mean, my driver
actually turn out of turn 2 down the backstretch is when he started.
Yeah,
my driver Larson didn't have the greatest of days, but he also knows that that's not his track. He's not. You can't run the wall at Martinsville, so it's not really a Larson track. And I don't quite remember where JJ finished, but
a lap down in 15th.
All right, well there we go, and that brings me up to kind of the last. We'll kind of wrap it up with this conversation here. Is Jimmie Johnson, who 7 championships, 84-ish, whatever, 3 wins, and he's dominated the sport really since 2004, 2005. He hasn't been anything in a year and a half. Is it time? Is he on the demise, or is it just are they going to turn it around?
You see Lowe's on their way out the door as well, which is unfortunate to see. You know, for a company who's been in NASCAR longer than Jimmie Johnson, and obviously as much success as he's brought with them, it's unfortunate to see him go. But yeah, things certainly aren't looking great for him. It would be nice as a fan myself to see him pick things back up, you know, maybe get back in victory lane and, you know, put all this behind. But you know, you look at Hendrick and everything that's changed over there, and the focus is on someone like William Byron or Alex Bowman or Chase Elliott. You know, Jimmie's the veteran, but he's kind of fallen off out of the spotlight. You got to wonder too if that affects him, if the company approaches things differently. You know, I would doubt it, but things aren't too good for Jimmie.
I'm not even sure if it's really a Jimmie Johnson thing. I mean, yeah, he's kind of fallen off, maybe a little bit. It's really not, from what I see, that big of a change with the way that he drives the car. I think it's a Hendrick Motorsports thing. You don't see Hendrick up front as much as they used to be. I mean, you look at the past races, Toyota's even been struggling this season. It's been all up to Ford. And I know Corey hates that.
Yeah.
But it's really been the game and the race between Fords up front recently. And Chevrolet has not really been doing as good as everyone anticipated. And I think that's because they're trying to get used to a new car this year, which really doesn't help. But a team like Hendrick Motorsports has not been able to keep up with the competition.
The only Chevy team with any kind of chance has been Larson, and he finished top 5 a few races, but he hasn't really been in, like, he hasn't really had a car where you knew he was going to win or he should have won. But he's been up there. But yeah, I think Chevy's definitely off. But Jimmie Johnson has never had another crew chief, to my knowledge, in his NASCAR career, even dating back to Busch, Nationwide, Xfinity, whatever the hell it's called. I think at this point in his career, he kind of needs a fresh set of eyes. You're getting older. You've been with the same crew chief forever. That's all you know. They must be so regimatic and so routine with their with how they do things. He's getting older. He doesn't. I mean, I'm not going to say he doesn't have the same drive, but does he need some kind of a boost that maybe he can't get from having the same team and the same crew chief the whole time?
I would almost rather see him, you know, announce retirement and be done than, you know, try to carry on and, you know, the chance at maybe continuing to fail at finding success and you know, sliding down. You know, if you make drastic changes like that and you don't succeed, it just sort of amplifies, you know, what could be, you know, not the best end to a fantastic career.
Think about a Brett Favre in football or a Michael Jordan. It's like you have an amazing career. Do you call it quits, or do you go and make small changes and then ultimately kind of not tarnish, but just kind of take your career and not end it the way it should have been? Like, you want to be known as, this was me and this was my team, and not just, well, I did this, I did that. Takes a little bit away, I think.
And again, I really don't think it's just a Jimmie Johnson thing. Yeah, he's getting older. Maybe he can't keep up with the young guys quite as well as he used to, but he's been keeping in really, really good physical shape, and he can last through those races quite easily. It's just Chevrolet, Hendrick Motorsports specifically, that is having issues keeping up with the competition. And I think it's the 48 team. They've had that same crew for quite a while now. Maybe it's time to switch up the crews a little bit. Not even the crew chief or the spotter. I think it's just their entire crew in general, from the guys at the facility to the guys that come to the racetrack. Maybe need a rebriefing on things, maybe need to go over some things, maybe need to just study the new technology of these race cars a little bit better. Because when you've had the same crew going up through all these generations of race cars, the old habits are not going to work for this new equipment.
I concur. There is one more topic that I did see in chat, and I say this is the last one. This is the last one. Topic's closed. Save the rest for next week. Someone wrote, and I think I know who this is, in chat, who wrote this. What is your opinion on NASCAR as the sanctioning body choosing to use NASCAR Heat as their affiliate game sim over iRacing? And I have thoughts on this, but I'll let you guys.
It's a marketing scheme, is what it is. More people are going to be able to afford a $50 video game than people are going to be able to afford iRacing. And yes, NASCAR has a huge part in iRacing with their sanctions, but let's face it, NASCAR Heat 2, NASCAR has always marketed their video games more than the simulator, and that's for a reason, because more people are going to go out and buy a video game with a console and a controller than people are going to go out and spend money on a big rig and get iRacing.
I haven't given it a lot of thought personally, but I mean, I would pretty much agree with everything you just said. I mean, even people who look towards the simulation side of things and strive for more realism are still going to occasionally pick up a controller and goof around or something, as probably what most iRacers would refer to a video game as. But yeah, it's just a broader audience. It's money.
Yeah, and there's I know there have been some races that, on NBC, they do the Parker Kligerman driving, well, here's the track. They haven't been able to do that. NASCAR Heat, as primitive as it is and as generic as it is, they don't obviously put the detail into any component of it, really. They keep it visually updated to where they actually can be the title of NASCAR, because what's going to happen when NASCAR goes to Kentucky? Well, we can't use iRacing as much as we want to because it's the old version. We just now got Pocono, but we can't use Michigan because it's the old one. And then visually, every track looks old. So NASCAR wants to promote itself on a platform that is actually up to date and accurate. And as good as iRacing is, and they are slowly chugging at stuff, you can't hash an outdated simulator as something that you're going to send to your masses.
It's certainly a side effect that you're going to see when you put a lot more quality and detail into your product. I mean, things are going to happen a little slower, than what you'll see with a video game, quite frankly.
Yeah, and something to go along with that progress. iRacing is not a huge corporation. They don't have the employee number-wise to go out and update a track, and nor do they have the funds to just continuously update these tracks over and over again as every little thing changes. These guys with iRacing have to go out with all their equipment and drive across the country to get to a racetrack with very, very expensive equipment. They laser scan every track, then they got to import the data. They've got to do all the artwork. That's a lot of time and money to get this simulation to the point where it is. And, even some bug fixes, we see some bug fixes take a while. Sometimes they just get so caught up in these projects and that they promised beforehand that they've got to worry about first. So iRacing is something else to show. It's not just a video game.
Yeah.
They have to put a lot of time and effort, and they don't have the employee count or the funds to keep up with these video games on the consoles that you can just pick up a controller and play.
Yeah, I do agree with all of that. I do think there are some flawed business model moves with iRacing, and I think that's a video for another day, because I do want to wrap this up. There are things that, to kind of say it in a couple words to the Too Long Didn't Read version, we pay for content and it's released. And it's great, but how much of that content to this day, when I've been on iRacing since 2008, August 6th, I believe. I was in there before it was open to the public. There has been content that I've had since day one that is in the exact same form now that it was in 2008, over almost 10 years to the day later. So that is a problem, and that is also something that is harder to showcase, because we know how people are. What is the first thing that people notice when it comes to a video game? They're going to say, "Oh my God, the graphics!" Maybe not in that exact tone.
That's one thing that iRacing really does not have with a stunning aspect as their graphics.
They have their moments where it's like, wow, if you catch the right lighting, the right car, at the right track, with the right camera angle, iRacing can blow you away. But
and they've given an explanation of why their graphics aren't up to par with all these other simulations, video games, whatever you want to call them, is they focus more on the driving experience and the immersion rather than making everything look pretty.
Yeah, they're applying their physics engine to a certain part of it rather than the graphic side. So yeah, that will cause. But again, that is a topic for another day. We are pushing, I don't know what time this is, but I think we're pushing a little longer than we wanted
close to an hour.
So we're going to wrap this up. I am Corey Silva. We have Brandon Kreutz. We have Michael DeGroat. This is the PTR TV Racer's Mind Episode 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share the content out. Of course, stay tuned for our broadcast of the ASRS series tomorrow night. Not quite sure off the top of my head which broadcast it is. I actually want to say it's Cup at Texas. And then, of course, we have Thursday night with Rivalry, Friday night with the Hardline Dirty Air Studios 200. So any final words for you gentlemen?
This was a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys having me on, and a lot of good things to talk about. I hope that people will continue to leave ideas and comments on the videos. Head over to facebook.com/PTRTV and leave your ideas for what you want us to talk about in the next weeks as well. That helps us out a ton. You know, it was a good night. A lot of fun.
Yeah, and be sure to check out our full schedule of upcoming events weekly at primetimeracing.tv. Also, feel free to contact us and leave us more ideas of what to talk about on the show.
All right, so again, wrapping up tonight's coverage of the Racer's Mind, Corey Silva, Evan Black, and Michael DeGroat. Have a great night, everyone.
Not Evan Black.
I almost, but I didn't say it. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll catch you tomorrow night.